Now, Namibia, it says, is planning to establish a sovereign wealth fund by the end of 2021 that will be used to serve as a buffer against future economic shocks, the Finance Minister Pumbushimi has said. The sovereign fund will be split into short and long-term funds and will be financed with proceeds from the renewable energy industry, the mining royalties, fishing quotas, and the sale of state-owned assets. Michael Ogunremi is a macroeconomist and fixed income analyst at Chapel Hill Denham, an investment banking services company licensed and registered by the SEC. He's live in the Lagos studios with me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to have you. Any surprise that Namibia is looking at a sovereign wealth fund? Is it wrong to assume that every country should have one?
Yes, well, it's not sacrosanct. I mean, if you think about it, the US don't have a sovereign wealth fund at the federal level.
Why does a country need a sovereign wealth fund?
I mean, so for me, I think three reasons, right? Number one, if the country is concerned about the future generation, that country will be breeding.
Okay, now I understand. America is about 300 years old, so they can afford not to have one.
Exactly.
So Namibia needs one.
Namibia does need one. I mean, it's a small country, however, so it's very important that they make that provision, for the generation to come. Another reason would be, I mean, if a country has, a huge natural resource and they're making a lot of money from it, why not save? For future generation. Namibia is producing very small in terms of exports. They don't export so much. They don't have crude. They basically rely on minerals, solid minerals, and they don't export this, in commercial quantities.
Interesting. Considering the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, do you think there's enough money to set aside for future generations, as it were? It looks like we need all the money now, you and I.
Absolutely, I mean, I couldn't agree more with you on that. But the truth remains that if we spend everything we currently have now, what's going to happen to future generation, right? Namibia has a growth rate of about 1.6% in terms of population. They have a population that is it leads to over 3 million, and so it's important for them to make that provision now, because if they decide to spend all that they have now, what's going to be left for future generations to come.
Okay, so here is the splitting of the fund between short and long term.
Yeah.
That sounds a little bit like the NSI, the NSIA.
Yes, exactly. I mean, key insights would be that it's important for them to have that mix. It's a fund, right? So it has to be diversified. So the short-term investment would be more inclined towards managing the risk. The long term would be more inclined towards getting higher yields. So on a risk-adjusted return basis, they can be better off.
Where do you think Namibia should be investing this fund right now in the global space?
To be honest, I think that if anyone is going to run a sovereign wealth fund right now, they need to look for investment that would yield high return, with a reasonable level of risk. I won't say a low level of risk, because everywhere is risky right now. So I'll say a reasonable level of risk. So I would say that much more of Eurobonds, USD-denominated investment should be where they should be putting their money into.
If they have part of this fund, will it be safe to say, well, perhaps they could just put a bit of it into the procurement of vaccines? Because it looks like, you look at the rate of vaccinations on the continent, we're still running close to the bottom of the barrel. So you think they should just put a bit into the vaccines?
Absolutely.
And then on a short-term basis?
Absolutely. Yeah. So as much as I canvass for making provision for future generation, we must save ourselves now. Right, if we don't save ourselves now, there really is no one, that would be there in the future. So I'd say that yes, some of this funds should be put into procuring vaccines, but I do think that it all boils down to portfolio management. So they need to be some sort of target. So this is how much you're putting into vaccine. This is how much you're keeping. So
here is Africa's largest economy and the most populous, $1 billion asset under management for Nigeria's sovereign wealth fund, according to the Minister of Finance in 2015. Now we're at about 3.5 billion US dollars at the end of September. You think we've done so well?
Well, it's an interesting one. I mean, a bit of an upload for the government, right?
Between 2015 and 2021, that's about 6 years.
Yes.
We just moved from $1 billion to $3.5 billion.
Yes. If you look at this, we've had, between 2015 and 2021, now we've had just 2 bull runs in terms of oil price. We had one in 2018. We had one we're currently experiencing right now. So I think that has sort of helped, the government to push the volume of the SWF to the level we're currently seeing. But in relative terms, I still think we're far behind. Malaysia, currently has about 37 billion in terms of their sovereign wealth fund. Turkey has about 34 billion in terms of sovereign wealth fund. And these are countries.
You don't want to talk about the guys in the Middle East?
I don't want to get there. I absolutely don't want to get there.
Or Norway or Finland.
Exactly.
Those guys have barrels and barrels of sovereign wealth funds and hundreds of billions of dollars. But again, yes, you give this to Uche Oji and his team at the NSIA for sweating the assets, as it were.
Absolutely.
But again, do you think we're making enough accretion into that particular fund from the executive branch side? Do you think we're making steady contributions into it?
Well, I would say no, and that's because of the fact that, just like I said, we've had only just 2 bull run in terms of oil price. What really filters into the SWF is proceeds from crude. Right, and sometimes when we have the downfall in oil prices, it sort of affects what goes.
Yeah, but the idea of saving, which is SWF, is not that you save when everything is easy and easy money. You save when things are tight because you had a foresight that things could get tighter.
Exactly.
So despite the recession of 2016 and of course the 2020 pandemic. In between those bumps, as it were, you think we've made enough? Well, seriously saving, you think we could have added a few more bucks in there?
I do think we could have added more. I do think we could have added more because, the episodes of this recession were not so long. Basically lasted maybe 3 quarters at most, and then we came out of it. So I think we could have added more, but probably because of the level of spending that the government committed itself to, they were unable to meet that target.
Okay, so President Buhari is in Saudi Arabia for this investment summit there right now. Are foreign direct investment announcements the main goal of this attendance? Is it about, okay, we're going to do this or we're going to do that? What has been done?
It's an investment summit if you think about it. So I guess the whole thing will be around investment.
No, you and I know that deals are made and signed at investment summits, not just promises.
Exactly.
But because everybody went there for deals, I don't know what we went there for, but we should have gone there to make deals.
Absolutely.
Than to make promises to get promises.
Exactly. So because if you think about it, I'm not sure I didn't come across any concrete plan or any concrete agenda by the government and the private sector-led delegation that went to Saudi Arabia to say, this is what exactly we're going to do.
Well, perhaps they know, we don't know. But it hasn't come out on television and any news media what it was. Really.
Exactly. So in the media, you really won't see anything so far. Yeah.
Interesting that everybody's looking, we are very hard-pressed for investments. So what do you think we need to put on the table for foreign investors? And there's so much money around the world. You folks say we have trillions of dollars sitting around the vaults, globally speaking, and they're not coming here.
Yeah, we have our own parts to play. That's the truth about it. As much as liquidity is high globally, macroeconomic sentiment in Nigeria is very, very low. A lot of investors are, risk averse at the moment, So I would say that for what we need to do, number one would be our ease of doing business. It's sad that the World Bank has put on hold the publication of the ease of doing business index, but I do.
But the World Bank does not need to publish any report. If it is not easy, then it's not easy.
Absolutely.
If it's easy, it is easy.
Absolutely. But if you think about it, right, it was when this whole ease of doing business became very public that Nigeria began to stamp its foot on the ground and say, we need to improve on these things. So I do think that, if we have a continuity of it, it will spur, the government to be on track. So I do think in terms of ease of doing business, it's important for us to focus there. Human capital development is also very important, especially when it comes to greenfield investment. You have a foreign investor that wants to come to the country, is concerned about will he get the right skill set here in Nigeria, or does he have to bring expatriates along with him, which will increase his cost.
At Chapel Hill, you guys handle some of the biggest transactions in the country for big names such as, and this is not advertorial, for MTN, for example, and others. So in terms of your interactions and shuffling papers and sharing papers, you're part of the Eurobond that has just been completed. Chapel Hill, you are the advisor to the DMO and the government of Nigeria on that. So you got the ears of foreign investors. Why are they talking about Nigeria? What do they want to see change for them to send in the check?
So I think top of the list will be the FX system. Yes, the FX system is really the big theme as far as foreign investors are concerned. A lot of them are concerned about the fact that if they bring their money to the country, will they be able to take their money out? That's a very puzzle. That's a big puzzle, that, the CBN has to fix to get more of this foreign investor coming into the country. But in terms of yield and sentiment, I do think that, a lot of them are still confident about the economy. You check the Eurobond, the lower level closed at about 6.1 to 5%, which is a very fair pricing for the Nigerian economy. And it speaks to the fact that, yes, investors still have this upbeat, expectation about the economy. But if we're able to solve, most of the issues around our FX, I think that it will be a good thing for us.
Great. Okay, it's good to have you here. Michael Ogunremi, macroeconomist at Vetiva Capital Management. Great to have you on the show.